I discovered my wife and her sister secretly used her as an egg donor for our baby after hiding my infertility diagnosis for a year. I confronted them at a dinner party and destroyed our entire family. Now, 3 months later, a shocking DNA test has changed everything. I, 34M, think I just destroyed my entire life in one evening, and I honestly don't know if I'm the villain or the victim here. 6 months ago, I discovered something that shattered my world, but I've kept it secret until now. Last night, everything exploded at my wife's birthday dinner in front of our entire family and closest friends. I need advice desperately because I'm currently sitting in a hotel room alone, with dozens of missed calls, and my marriage of 8 years might be over. Some background: my wife Eliza, 33F, and I met in graduate school. She's brilliant, kind, and everyone loves her. We've built what I thought was a perfect life, good careers, a beautiful home, and we've been trying for a baby for the last 3 years without success. Her sister Megan, 36F, has always been part of our lives. Megan is single, successful, and has been my wife's rock through everything. She's also been my closest friend outside of my marriage. We've had dinner together weekly for years while Eliza worked late at the hospital. Megan helped me plan surprises for Eliza, and I've helped her through bad breakups. We were genuinely like family. Last December, Eliza and I went through our third failed IVF cycle. It devastated us both. I took it hard, but Eliza took it harder. She withdrew emotionally, working longer hours at the hospital, and our marriage started showing serious cracks. During this time, Megan was there for both of us, constantly checking in, bringing meals over, trying to keep our spirits up. I was grateful for her support when Eliza was distant. Then 6 months ago, I was using Eliza's laptop to pay our bills, something I always do, when a notification popped up from her email. The subject line read, latest test results, confidential. I shouldn't have clicked it, but something in my gut told me to. The email was from a fertility specialist we had never visited together. There were previous emails in the chain that I quickly scanned, and what I discovered made me physically ill. For the past year, Eliza had been secretly seeing this specialist alone. The doctor had confirmed that our fertility issues weren't a shared problem or unexplained as we'd been told by our joint doctor. According to these emails, Eliza had known for over a year that I was the reason we couldn't conceive. I had an undiagnosed genetic condition that made natural conception nearly impossible. My hands were shaking as I read further. In her replies, Eliza discussed exploring other options and making decisions without unnecessary complications. The specialist had referred her to a sperm donor program. I sat there for hours, reading and rereading the emails, trying to make sense of it. Why would she hide this from me? We'd spent thousands on treatments that apparently couldn't work, gone through emotional hell together, and all along she knew the problem was me, but chose to let me believe it was unexplained or possibly her issue. I didn't confront her. I was too shocked, too hurt. Instead, I started watching more closely. Eliza continued to suggest new fertility clinics, different treatments, all while knowing they wouldn't work. I went along with it, waiting for her to tell me the truth. She never did. Meanwhile, I started having panic attacks, lost weight, couldn't sleep. I confided in no one, not my friends, not my brother, no one. Except Megan. One night about 4 months ago, Megan came over with dinner while Eliza was working late. I broke down completely and told her everything. She seemed genuinely shocked and held me while I cried. She promised to talk to Eliza, to encourage her to tell me the truth. Weeks passed, and nothing changed, except Megan started acting strange around me. She would cancel our usual dinners, and when we did meet, she seemed uncomfortable. I assumed she was struggling with keeping my secret. Fast forward to last night. Eliza's 34th birthday. We hosted a dinner at our home with both our families and closest friends, about 15 people total. Her parents, my parents, her sister Megan, my brother, and our friend group. The evening was going well. I'd been drinking, more than usual, trying to keep my anxiety under control. After dinner, Eliza announced she had news to share. My heart nearly stopped when she said, with tears in her eyes, that she was pregnant. The room erupted in cheers and congratulations. Everyone was hugging her, crying happy tears. I stood frozen, my glass of whiskey halfway to my lips. It was impossible. I knew it was medically impossible. Unless. I looked across the room at Megan, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Something in her expression confirmed what I was thinking. I downed my drink and asked, loudly enough to quiet the room, "How far along are you?" Eliza looked startled but answered, "Almost 10 weeks. I wanted to be sure before telling everyone." "And when were you planning to tell me that I'm not the father?" The words came out before I could stop them. The room went completely silent. Eliza's face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" She whispered. I saw the emails, Eliza. 6 months ago. I know about my condition. I know I can't have children. My voice was shaking. So unless this is a miracle baby, someone else is the father. Her mother gasped. My father stood up abruptly. Eliza started crying, saying, "This isn't how I wanted to tell you. I was going to explain everything, but not like this." Explain what? I demanded. That you've been lying to me for over a year? That you've been secretly planning this? Who is he? That's when Megan stepped forward. It's not what you think, she said. And the look that passed between my wife and her sister told me everything. I laughed bitterly. It's a donor, isn't it? You went ahead with a donor and didn't tell me. I turned to our families. She's known for over a year that I can't have children. She hid it from me while letting me believe it might be her fault. She watched me blame myself, spend our savings on treatments that couldn't work, and then decided to get pregnant without telling me. Eliza was sobbing now. Please, can we talk about this privately? Not like this. Like how you've been privately handling everything else? I shot back. No. I've been silent for 6 months. Everyone deserves to know what's really happening. My brother tried to intervene. Maybe we should give you two some space. No, I cut him off. Stay. Please. I couldn't bear the thought of being alone with her lies anymore. So, what was the plan, Eliza? Pass this baby off as mine? Let me raise a child believing it was mine? How long were you going to wait to tell me the truth? Or was that never part of the plan? Eliza wiped her tears, visibly trying to compose herself. That's not fair. I was protecting you. Protecting me? I laughed again, the sound harsh even to my own ears. From what? The truth? My right to make decisions about my own life? From pain, she shouted back. You were already blaming yourself for every failed attempt. When Dr. Calloway told me about your condition, I saw what it would do to you. I couldn't. So you lied, I interrupted. For over a year. You let me think we were in this together, making decisions together, when you were making them all along. That's when Megan stepped forward again. Stop it, both of you. This isn't just about you two anymore. She put her hand protectively on Eliza's shoulder. The gesture was intimate, familiar in a way that suddenly seemed wrong. A horrible suspicion began forming in my mind. What exactly is your role in all this, Megan? I asked slowly. Because 4 months ago, you promised to help me. You said you'd talk to Eliza. Did you? Megan's face flushed. She glanced at Eliza, who was staring at the floor. Oh my God, I whispered as realization dawned. Those dinners, all those nights you came over when Eliza was working late. You weren't just being supportive, were you? You were part of this plan all along. It wasn't like that, Megan insisted. Then what was it like? I demanded. Tell me. Eliza finally looked up. I asked Megan to help me find a donor. Someone we could trust. Someone who would understand the situation. My stomach dropped. And did she? Find someone? The silence that followed was answer enough. I looked between them, the two women I trusted most in the world, and saw the truth written on their faces. You're the donor, I said to Megan, my voice barely audible. My wife's sister. The baby is biologically yours. No, Eliza quickly corrected. The baby is ours. Yours and mine. Megan just helped. Don't, I said, holding up my hand. Don't pretend this was for me. This was about what you wanted. You made this decision without me. By now, everyone in the room was stunned into silence. Eliza's parents were holding each other, looking horrified. My mother was crying quietly. My father looked like he wanted to punch something. Our friends were frozen in awkward positions around the room, clearly wishing they were anywhere else. I think, my brother finally said, everyone should probably go. People started gathering their things, murmuring awkward goodbyes, avoiding eye contact. Within minutes, only Eliza, Megan, my brother, and I remained. James, Eliza pleaded, using my name for the first time since the argument began. I love you. I've only ever wanted a family with you. When I found out about your condition, I was devastated, not because I blamed you, but because I saw how much it would hurt you. I wanted to spare you that pain. By lying? By going behind my back with your sister? It's not what you're thinking, Megan insisted. There was no physical relation. We used a clinic. I was the egg donor. The baby is genetically related to Eliza's family. We thought it would be the closest thing possible. We? I repeated. There is no we in my marriage except Eliza and me. Or at least, that's what I thought. My brother put his hand on my shoulder. James, you're drunk and upset. Maybe you should come stay with me tonight. Give yourself some space to think. I nodded numbly. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, leaving me exhausted and hollow. I walked upstairs to grab some clothes, leaving the three of them in tense silence. When I came back down with my overnight bag, Eliza was sitting on the couch, her face in her hands. Megan was pacing, and my brother was by the door, waiting for me. "James," Eliza said, looking up. Her face was streaked with mascara. "Please don't go. We can work through this." I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. Behind the lies and the betrayal, I could still see the woman I fell in love with. But now there was something else there too, a desperation I'd never seen before. "Why?" I asked softly. "Why was having a biological connection so important that you would lie to me for a year? Did you think I wouldn't love an adopted child? Or a child from a donor we chose together?" "It wasn't just that," she whispered. "I was afraid you'd give up. After the last failed cycle, you said maybe we weren't meant to be parents. I couldn't accept that. So you made the choice for both of us." I picked up my bag. "I need time to think." "How much time?" she asked, her voice breaking. "I don't know." I walked to the door where my brother was waiting. "All I know is that I don't recognize my life anymore. Or the people in it." As we left, I heard Megan try to comfort Eliza, and something inside me broke completely. The two people I trusted most had formed their own alliance, made decisions about my life, my future, my family, all while I was completely in the dark. I checked into a hotel that night. My brother offered to stay, but I needed to be alone. The next morning, I had 27 missed calls, from Eliza, Megan, my parents, even some of our friends. I ignored them all and called in sick to work. For 3 days, I stayed in that hotel room, leaving only to buy food or more alcohol. I turned my phone off after the first day. I couldn't bear to hear their explanations or excuses anymore. On the 4th day, there was a knock at my door. It was my brother. "Everyone's worried about you," he said when I let him in. "Eliza doesn't know if you're even alive." "How did you find me?" "Credit card statement. You're still using the joint account." He looked around the room at the empty takeout containers and liquor bottles. "This isn't like you, James." "Nothing is like me anymore," I said, sinking onto the bed. "My whole life was a lie." "Not your whole life," he countered. "Just parts of it. Recent parts. Important parts," I insisted. "Eliza and I were supposed to make these decisions together. That's what marriage is." My brother sat down across from me. "Look, I'm not saying what they did was right. It wasn't. But I think you need to hear them out. Especially Eliza." "Why? So she can lie to me some more? Tell me more about how she was protecting me?" I laughed bitterly. I keep replaying the last year in my head. All those doctor's appointments, the treatments, the nights I held her while she cried after negative tests. All along, she knew. She knew and said nothing. "People make terrible decisions when they're desperate," my brother said quietly. "Eliza loves you. That much I know for sure." "Love doesn't justify this level of deception," I replied. And it wasn't just Eliza. Megan knew for months. She looked me in the eye after I confided in her, promised to help, and then continued the charade. Those weekly dinners. I trailed off, remembering how Megan had suddenly become distant. Oh God. That's when they were planning this, wasn't it? When Megan started canceling our dinners. They were setting this up. My brother didn't answer, which was answer enough. "I want to see Megan," I said suddenly. "Not Eliza. Not yet. I want to talk to Megan first." My brother looked surprised but nodded. "I'll arrange it." He paused at the door. "James, whatever you decide, don't do it from this hotel room. At least come stay with me. This isn't good for you." I agreed and checked out an hour later. My brother had a guest room ready, and I spent the rest of the day in a daze, trying to make sense of everything. That evening, he texted me that Megan would come by the next morning. She arrived at 10 a.m. sharp, looking as if she hadn't slept in days. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by a nervousness I'd never seen in her before. "Thank you for seeing me," she said as we sat in my brother's living room. He had discreetly left for the gym to give us privacy. "I have questions," I said, cutting straight to the point. "And I want honest answers. No more lies, no more half-truths." Megan nodded solemnly. "I'll tell you everything." "When did this plan start?" "The donor plan." She took a deep breath. "About 5 months ago. After you told me about Eliza's emails." "So when I confided in you, you went straight to her?" "Not immediately," she said. "I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to talk to her, to understand why she'd hidden this from you." But when I did, she hesitated. What? I pressed. She broke down completely. She said she couldn't bear to see you blame yourself. That you'd already been through so much with the failed treatments. She was terrified you'd give up on having a family altogether. That was my choice to make, I said firmly. I know, Megan admitted. I told her that. I told her she needed to tell you the truth. But then she mentioned something the specialist had suggested, using a donor with a genetic connection to her. She asked if I knew anyone who might consider it. And you volunteered, I said flatly. Megan looked down at her hands. Not right away. It was a process. I thought about it for weeks. But yes, eventually I offered. I thought. She stopped, tears welling in her eyes. I thought I was helping. Giving you both something no one else could. Behind my back. Yes, she acknowledged. And that was wrong. I see that now. I got caught up in Eliza's fear, in the idea that we could solve this problem for you both. Did you ever consider how I would feel? Finding out this way? Being the last to know about my own life? We weren't thinking clearly, she admitted. Eliza planned to tell you once the pregnancy was confirmed. She wanted to present it as a solution, not another problem. She thought if the baby was already real to you, already part of your future, you might be able to accept how it came to be. That's manipulation, I said coldly. Not love. Megan didn't argue. James, Eliza is devastated. She's barely functioning. She knows she made a terrible mistake, that she betrayed your trust in the worst way. What did you think would happen? I asked. That I'd just accept this? That I wouldn't feel completely blindsided and betrayed by the two people I trusted most? I don't know what we thought, she said honestly. We convinced ourselves we were doing something good, something loving. We were wrong. We sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, I asked the question that had been haunting me. How involved do you plan to be? In the baby's life? Megan looked startled. Only as an aunt. Nothing more. I have no maternal claim or desire here. The baby is yours and Eliza's. I was just a means to an end. And if Eliza and I don't survive this? I asked. What then? I don't know, she whispered. But whatever happens between you two, my role doesn't change. I'm just the aunt. I nodded slowly, processing this. There was a certain logic to what they'd done, I could see that now. A twisted, desperate logic, but logic nonetheless. They hadn't acted out of malice but out of a misguided attempt to create what they thought I wanted, a family with a biological connection to my wife. I need to see Eliza, I finally said. But not yet. I need more time. She'll wait, Megan assured me. For as long as it takes. After she left, I sat alone in my brother's living room for hours, trying to sort through my feelings. The betrayal still cut deep, but something else was emerging too, a complicated understanding of the desperation that had driven them to such lengths. That night, I finally turned my phone back on. There were dozens of texts from Eliza, each more desperate than the last. I couldn't read them all, but the most recent one simply said, I love you. I'm so sorry. When you're ready to talk, I'll be here. No pressure, no expectations. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. Update, 3 days later. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I was overwhelmed by the response, thousands of comments offering perspectives I hadn't considered and sharing similar experiences. It's given me a lot to think about. After talking with Megan, I spent 2 more days at my brother's place, thinking about what I wanted to do next. Yesterday, I finally agreed to meet with Eliza. We met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe near our house. She looked terrible, pale and drawn, with dark circles under her eyes. I probably didn't look much better. Thank you for meeting me, she said when I sat down. I nodded but didn't say anything. I wanted her to talk first. I don't know where to start, she admitted. I've rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times in my head, but now that you're here. James, I'm just so sorry. Sorry you did it or sorry you got caught? I asked. Both, she said honestly. I'm sorry I made these decisions without you. I'm sorry I broke your trust. And yes, I'm sorry the truth came out the way it did. You deserved better, so much better. I took a deep breath. I need to understand why, Eliza. Not just the surface reason. Why was having a baby with a biological connection to you so important that you would risk our entire marriage? She was quiet for a long moment. It wasn't just about biology, she finally said. After we got the diagnosis, your diagnosis, I saw something change in you. You started talking about accepting childlessness or exploring other options down the road. You seemed resigned. I wasn't ready to give up. I couldn't. So you decided to take matters into your own hands. Yes, she admitted. And that was wrong. I should have talked to you honestly. I should have told you about Dr. Calloway's findings immediately. But I was scared, James. Scared you'd give up on us having a family altogether. That wasn't your decision to make alone, I said, my voice tight with emotion. We're supposed to be partners. Equal partners. I know, she whispered. I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I know how badly I violated that partnership. But James, please try to understand, I wasn't thinking clearly. After the third failed IVF, when Dr. Calloway told me about your condition, something in me just broke. All I could think about was fixing it, solving the problem. By cutting me out of the solution, I said. Yes, she nodded, tears streaming down her face now. And I hate myself for it. I've destroyed everything we built together because I couldn't face the possibility that we might not have the family we imagined. I studied her face, trying to reconcile the woman I married with the person who could lie to me for so long. When did you involve Megan? After she confronted me about the emails. She was furious with me for hiding the truth from you. She insisted I tell you everything. Eliza paused, wiping her tears. I was going to. I swear I was. But then I started talking about what the specialist had suggested, using a donor with a family connection. How it might give us a child that was still connected to both of us, in a way. And Megan volunteered, I finished for her. Not immediately, Eliza corrected. She was hesitant, worried about all the complications. But the more we talked about it, the more it seemed like the perfect solution. The baby would be genetically related to me, but raised by us. Megan would be the aunt, nothing more. What about me? I asked quietly. Where did I fit into this perfect solution? Eliza reached across the table, not quite touching me. You were always the father, James. Always. In every way that matters. I never questioned that for a second. Except you questioned whether I could handle the truth. She looked down. Yes. I was wrong. So wrong. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of her confession hanging between us. Finally, I asked the question that had been gnawing at me since that night at the dinner party. Were you ever going to tell me? If I hadn't found those emails, if I hadn't confronted you at the party, would I ever have known the truth? Eliza met my eyes. I told myself I would. After the baby was born, when you had already fallen in love with our child. I thought it would be easier then. She shook her head. But honestly? I don't know. I was so afraid of losing you, of losing our family, that I might have kept hiding it. And that terrifies me, that I was capable of that level of deception. Her honesty, painful as it was, meant something. It was the first completely truthful conversation we'd had in over a year. What do you want now? I asked. I want us to find a way forward, she said immediately. I want to rebuild what I've broken, if that's even possible. I want us to raise this child together, as we always planned. But, she hesitated. But what? But I understand if you can't forgive me. If this is too much. I won't trap you, James. If you want to leave, I'll understand. The decision hanging over me felt impossible. Walk away from my marriage, from the family we'd wanted for so long? Or try to rebuild trust with someone who had lied to me so completely? I need more time, I finally said. This isn't something I can decide over coffee. She nodded. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. As I stood to leave, she caught my hand. James, there's something else you should know. Something I haven't told anyone, not even Megan. I tensed. What now? The night I found out about your condition, I did something stupid. I was so upset, so desperate for answers, that I contacted a genetic counselor without telling you. I wanted to understand exactly what we were dealing with, if there was any chance at all. And? I sat back down, bracing myself for more bad news. The condition, CPOVD, it's a genetic disorder that can be associated with other genetic factors. The counselor suggested we both get comprehensive genetic testing. When I got my results back, she took a deep breath. I found out I'm a carrier for cystic fibrosis. I stared at her, processing this new information. What does that mean? It means that even if you didn't have CPOVD, we would have had a 25% chance of having a child with cystic fibrosis if I used my eggs. The counselor said it might actually be safer to use a donor egg. She looked down at her hands. That's when I first thought of Megan. I had her tested too, quietly. She's not a carrier. This revelation shifted something in my understanding. What I had seen as a purely selfish decision suddenly had another dimension, a medical one. "Why didn't you tell me this?" I asked. "Because I was ashamed," she admitted. Ashamed that I was the one with the genetic issue too. Ashamed that I'd pushed so hard for biological children when it turns out, both of us had complications. It felt like the universe was telling us to stop, and I refused to listen. I left the cafe more confused than ever. The simple narrative of betrayal I'd constructed was becoming more complicated by the hour. That night, I called my brother and asked if I could extend my stay. I needed more time to think. Update, 1 week later. Thank you all for your supportive comments and messages. Many of you asked for an update, so here it is. A lot has happened in the past week. After my meeting with Eliza, I spent several days researching FOBT and cystic fibrosis carriers. I wanted to understand exactly what we were dealing with medically. What I learned confirmed what Eliza had told me: using her eggs and a sperm donor would still have carried significant genetic risks. I also spoke with my parents, who had been giving me space but were clearly worried. My father, usually stoic and traditional, surprised me with his perspective. "What they did was wrong," he said. "No question about it. But their intentions." He struggled to find the words. "Sometimes love makes people do desperate, foolish things." My mother was less forgiving. "She should have trusted you with the truth, James. Marriage can't survive without honesty." They were both right, of course. 5 days after our cafe meeting, I texted Eliza asking if I could come home, not to stay, but to talk more. She agreed immediately. When I arrived, the house was immaculate, as if she'd been cleaning obsessively. Maybe she had been. We sat in our living room, the scene of that disastrous birthday dinner, and I told her I had more questions. "Did you ever consider adoption?" I asked. "Or using both a donor egg and donor sperm?" "Yes," she said. "I researched both options extensively. But adoption can take years, and the process is unpredictable. As for using unrelated donors..." She hesitated. "It felt like giving up on both our genetic connections. At least this way, the baby would be connected to one of us." "To you," I pointed out. "Not me." "Yes," she acknowledged. "And that was selfish. I see that now." "What about Megan's involvement going forward?" I asked. "Have you discussed boundaries?" "We have," Eliza nodded. "She's been very clear that she sees herself solely as an aunt. She's willing to put that in writing, legally, if it would help you feel more secure." I considered this. "And the baby? When would you tell them about their biological origins?" "That's a decision I want us to make together," she said. If there's still in us." The question hung in the air between us. Was there still in us? Could there be, after everything that had happened? "I've been thinking about why this hurts so much," I said slowly. "It's not just the deception, though that's a huge part of it. It's that you took away my agency, my right to make informed decisions about my own life. You decided what I could and couldn't handle." "You're right," she said softly. "I did. I convinced myself it was out of love, but really, it was about control. I couldn't control our fertility issues, so I tried to control everything else, including you." Her admission stunned me. It was perhaps the most honest thing she'd said through this entire ordeal. "I don't know if I can get past this," I admitted. "I want to. God, I want to. But every time I think about how long you kept this from me, how you and Megan planned this behind my back, I don't know how to trust either of you again." "I understand," she whispered. "I wouldn't trust me either." I stood up, needing to move, to think. "I need to go away for a while. Not just to my brothers. Really away. To clear my head and figure out what I want." Her face crumpled, but she nodded. "Where will you go?" "My uncle's cabin upstate. No one but my brother will have the address. I need complete space, Eliza. No calls, no texts. Just time to think." "How long?" Her voice was barely audible. "I don't know. A few weeks, maybe. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk again." As I was packing a larger bag at my brother's place, my phone rang. It was Megan. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. "James," she said when I picked up. "I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but there's something you need to know. Something I should have told you from the beginning." My heart sank. "What now?" "The night you found those emails, the night you told me about Eliza's deception. I called her immediately after I left your house. I was furious with her. We had a huge fight. I told her she had to tell you the truth right away." "But she didn't," I said. "No, she didn't," Megan confirmed. But what you don't know is that I threatened to tell you myself if she didn't. I gave her 1 week. When that week passed and she still hadn't told you, I lost my nerve. I was afraid of destroying your marriage. So I became part of the deception. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because you deserve the complete truth. And because. She hesitated. Because Eliza doesn't know I'm calling you. She would be furious if she knew. But I can't let you leave thinking we were in this together from the beginning. We weren't. I failed you too, James, but not in the way you think. After hanging up, I finished packing and drove to my uncle's cabin in the mountains. For 2 weeks, I lived in almost complete isolation. I hiked during the day, exhausting my body so my mind could rest. At night, I wrote pages and pages of my thoughts, my fears, my anger, my confusion. Gradually, something shifted in me. The raw pain began to dull, replaced by a more complex understanding of what had happened. Yes, Eliza had betrayed me in a fundamental way. Yes, Megan had failed me too. But the more distance I had, the more I could see the desperation and fear that had driven them. Not excuses, but explanations. And there was the baby to consider. An innocent child who would be born into this mess we'd created. My child, not biologically, but in every way that ultimately mattered. 3 weeks after I left, I drove back to the city. I texted my brother first, letting him know I was back. Then, taking a deep breath, I texted Eliza, I'm ready to talk. Can I come home? Her response was immediate, yes. Please come home. When I arrived, she was sitting on the porch steps waiting for me. She looked different, calmer, but also more visibly pregnant. The sight hit me harder than I expected. This was real. This was happening. Thank you for coming back, she said as I sat beside her. I'm not staying, I clarified. Not yet. But I'm ready to talk about what happens next. We went inside, and for the next several hours, we talked more honestly than we had in our entire marriage. I told her how deeply her betrayal had cut me, how it had shaken my understanding of who she was. She listened without interrupting, without defending herself. When I finished, she took my hand tentatively. Before you decide anything, there's something I need to show you. She went to her office and returned with a thick manila envelope. These are letters I wrote to you while you were gone. 1 each day. I didn't send them because I was respecting your need for space. But I want you to read them now. I took the envelope back to my brother's place and spent the night reading through 23 handwritten letters. They weren't pleas for forgiveness or manipulative attempts to win me back. They were raw, honest reflections on her mistakes, on what she'd learned, on the person she wanted to become, with or without me. In the final letter, dated just 2 days before, she'd written, whatever you decide, I want you to know that I'm in therapy now. I'm working to understand why I thought I had the right to make these decisions for us both. I'm trying to become someone worthy of trust again, even if it's too late for us. The baby deserves that. You deserve that. The next day, I asked Eliza and Megan to meet me at a neutral location, a quiet park near our house. When they arrived, looking nervous and uncertain, I got straight to the point. I've made my decision, I said. I want to come home and try to rebuild our marriage. I want to be this child's father. But I have conditions. They both looked stunned, clearly having expected a different outcome. First, I continued, we start therapy immediately, both couples counseling and individual therapy. Second, we draw up a legal agreement clarifying Megan's role as the aunt only, with no parental rights. Third, we agree to be completely honest with our child about their origins when they're old enough to understand. Yes, Eliza said immediately. Yes to all of it. Megan nodded in agreement, tears in her eyes. Whatever you need to feel secure in this. And one more thing, I added. I need complete transparency from both of you from now on. No more secrets, no more decisions made behind closed doors. If I feel that trust is being broken again, I'm gone for good. I promise, Eliza whispered. Megan echoed the sentiment. Final update, 3 months later. It's been 3 months since I made the decision to try and save my marriage. I won't pretend it's been easy. We've had intense therapy sessions, both together and separately. There have been nights of tears and painful conversations, moments when I've questioned my decision to stay. But there have also been moments of profound connection, of rebuilding something that feels, if not the same as before, possibly stronger in some ways. More honest, more intentional. Eliza is now 6 months pregnant. We've found out we're having a little girl. Together, we've prepared the nursery, attended doctor's appointments, and started discussing names. Sometimes, when I feel the baby kick, I'm overwhelmed by how much I already love this child who isn't biologically mine, but who is absolutely mine in heart. Megan has kept her word, maintaining appropriate boundaries while still being supportive. Our relationship is forever changed, but not destroyed. We're finding a new normal. The most unexpected development came last month, during a session with our therapist. We were discussing how to tell our daughter about her origins when she's older. The therapist suggested we all take DNA tests to have complete medical information for the baby's future. Eliza and I agreed it was a good idea, and Megan had already done one previously. When my results came back, there was a shock that none of us saw coming. The genetic counselor called me personally to discuss the findings. It turns out I don't have classic BOVD as Dr. Calloway had diagnosed. I have a rare variant that doesn't necessarily cause complete infertility, just significantly reduced fertility. The counselor explained that natural conception would be extremely unlikely but not impossible. "What are you saying?" I asked, my heart racing. "I'm saying you should have your wife tested to confirm, but there's a possibility, a small one, but real, that you could be the biological father of this baby." I sat in stunned silence as the implications washed over me. Could it be possible? Could this child, conceived in secrecy and deception, actually be biologically mine after all? We're still waiting for the more comprehensive testing to confirm one way or the other. Part of me is afraid to hope. And another part of me has realized something important: it doesn't matter. Whether this baby shares my DNA or not, she's my daughter. The past few months have taught me that family is about so much more than biology. Whatever the test results show, I've made my peace with our situation. The betrayal still hurts sometimes, like a wound that's healing but leaves a scar. But I've chosen to move forward, to build the family we've wanted for so long, even if the path to get here was nothing like I imagined. If there's anything I've learned from this ordeal, it's that there are no simple villains or heroes in real life. Just flawed people making terrible decisions for what they believe are the right reasons. The hardest part has been accepting that the woman I love was capable of such deception, and that I'm capable of both profound anger and profound forgiveness. I don't know what the future holds for us. But I do know that our daughter will grow up surrounded by people who fought through hell to become a family. And there's something beautiful in that, despite everything.